Said you would have a video 2 days in a row. I said I would. Today, though, guys, instead of talking about Pro League, we're going to talk about one of the teams in the Pro League, and we are going to talk about Splyce. As you can see from last night on social media, they did eventually announce that Nolson would be coming into the team in replacement of Accuracy. And it was a change that has sort of been rumoured for a few days now, just due to the fact that a couple of Nolson's now former teammates have been tweeting out saying, "Oh, good luck to Nick," etc., etc. And I feel like it's one that was needed for Splyce. Obviously, things weren't working. They had a very poor performance in London. I think it was a top 12 finish. Either way, it was awful and not where they should have been. And then it sort of continued into the Pro League as well. I think it's a huge opportunity for Nolson. He is really being sort of slated as a placeholder in this team. But I think, if Splyce can get a really good performance out of him and he brings a high level that can match the rest of his teammates, then they're not going to go and spend thousands and thousands on players that they maybe say they won't need. Of course, I mean, a lot of people are going to be talking about the current biggest so-called free agent at the moment, which is Gunless. Of course, he is still contracted to LG, but he's sitting on the bench, so a lot of people are sort of seeing him as the next big mover that could shake things up. Could it be in replacement of Nolson? Very well could be. However, it's just remaining to see how they do with Nolson. Now, they've got about a week of Pro League, of course, still to go. We've seen the games last night. They've got their games over Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, of course. I'm actually going to bring up who they're playing because I haven't actually even looked, which is a bit silly of me. But either way, look, they have games this week. They have time to sort of figure out what is going on with this team, etc. God, why can't I find the schedule so easily? You'd think this would be easier to find. Right, okay, let's scroll all the way down. Who have Splyce got to play this week? Okay. So they're going to play Envy tomorrow. Or tonight, I should say. Then they're going to play Heretics tomorrow and 100 Thieves at the end of the week. So really not an easy week at all. I mean, yeah, okay, going up against Heretics, that's a game that you could definitely see them winning. But then in against Envy, again, winnable game, but 100 Thieves will be very difficult. Although 100 Thieves did get beat 3-0 off United, not like I predicted last night. So, yeah, there's some interesting games for them to go into, but at least I think the difference here is, we've seen LG move Gunless out and bring Ricky in. In that case, they literally had a couple of games and then all that time up to Anaheim. But now they're going to get a few games in here with Nolson and get themselves in an opportunity where they could potentially do something and try and get used to playing with him. It seems as if Aqua is going to be the one moving into that main AR role instead of Accuracy, which I like that change. I like Aqua as an AR. I questioned his involvement in this team at the beginning of the year, but he looks a good player on this game indeed. So let's see what he does with that main AR, with the ICR in his hands, and then we're going to see Maddox in the hands of Nolson, presumably. Now, let's run through some stats. If any of you guys don't remember Nolson, he was at Vegas, and they placed in the top 6 with Team Sween, who then just about missed out on the qualifier. They lost to Accelerate in the losers side of that one. I remember it was a big shock. A lot of people really did expect them to push on through. And then they got top 8 at the Fort Worth Open. Oh, this is Nolson and his team. It was a very, very similar team. And second at the London Open under Kairos. So, he's put up some decent results so far this year. Although I would like to say that second place in London was really quite poor against Mindfreak. Do not know what was going on with that Kairos team at the time. But let's talk about his biggest stats. So overall, his adjusted KD was a 1.21 with battery. It was the 9th overall KD. I'm actually going to bring up, I'm curious to see where he was in battery players. I don't think he was first. As you would obviously imagine that a lot of the battery players were realistically putting up the majority of the damage. Okay, let's have a look. So Nolson, battery, he was... okay, no, so a lot of the top 10 were the battery. So he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was 6th in battery, 9th overall. That tells you how strong that was at the beginning of the year. Now, that's still pretty decent stats, though. They did finish top 6, so obviously that reflects that. A 1.29 KD in Respawn, which was best for 5th in Vegas, and a 1.02 in S&D. So good stats, really good so far. Pro League qualifier did slip off a little bit, though. A 1.05 adjusted with a 1.08 in Respawn and a 0.98 in S&D. Either way, they're relatively solid stats. He's a solid all-around player. I don't think when he enters this team, I don't think he's going to drop in and light the world on fire. I think he'll do his job. But it'll be really interesting to see how he really does bring... I mean, look, this is an opportunity for him. As I said, he's seen as a placeholder for this Splyce team, but it's an opportunity for him to, okay, if he doesn't work out for Splyce, if they really do have their eye on Gunless, which you would presume they do, then they're always going to choose him over Nolson, even if Nolson plays really well. So it's a good opportunity for him to put himself in the shop window and sort of say, look, I'm a guy who can compete at this top level. So really, I mean, the pressure is not necessarily on him in the team. I think he'll probably put the pressure on himself to go out there and really perform. But I'm interested to see how they do. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Splyce this week. Now, a word on accuracy. I think, you know, he never really set the world on fire this year as he did last. I don't think he's necessarily been playing awful. I looked at his stats from London. It was a 0.91 adjusted. You know, not great, not the worst either. I think it was like 25th worst out of 80 players. But you look at their results over the past few weeks in London and in Pro League, and it's not good enough. This team were at the top, and they have consistently been there. There was a third, a second place. They've been in and around the mix when we're talking about teams who are going to win events, apart from the last few weeks. So things are starting to fall apart. A change has to be made. You have a semi-competent, pretty decent sub there who can come in and probably step up to a level where we need him to be. They make the change. It's probably the right decision, I feel, from Splyce. Let's see if Nolson can take the opportunity with both hands. Guys, let me know below what you think will happen with Nolson. Do you think he is going to be there and really punching with the big boys? Is he going to be able to bring his Maddox player that we've seen in Vegas to this Splyce team? Is he going to be good enough to fill the boots of Aqua, who is now moving to the ICR? Or is he going to just literally be in until after Anaheim and he'll be shipped out, and let's see what happens? But it's interesting. Try and theorize, is there anybody else you think Splyce could go on to maybe try and pick up? It seems as if Gunless is the right choice, but we will soon see. Guys, please give the video a like, comment if you would as well, share it, subscribe, do everything I would like you to do with this video, and we will see you guys for the next one.